Hey Jim, I'm going to see if I can give you a breakdown of your son's swing. That'll make some sense. Part of the problem in the video is you lose his hands to sight, and I don't really know where he would typically start from when a ball is being pitched. So, right now, when I look at his stance overall, at this point in time, his stance looks athletic, but I don't know if this is where he starts when a pitch comes, or does he start from all the way back here, right there, when a pitch comes. The way the video is taken, it's really hard to determine where his starting point is. So, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to start him here. Start at this point being the beginning of his stance. And the first thing I see, if you look at some of the pre-drawn lines that I have there, I've got a line in the front of his back foot, two lines representing his back leg, and then a line in his front hip. If you watch when he begins his load, his back leg gets outside, way outside of the inside of his ankle. So the inside of his knee, you don't want that to get outside of his ankle. So right here should really stay there. He should be posting up and it should stay there. Continuing on with his load, if you watch his hands and his upper body, as soon as he begins to load, what he's really doing is he's pushing his hands back towards the catcher. And what it's doing is it's starting to create early arm bar right from the beginning. So this angle here, whoops, this angle, hang on, it's tough doing this on the phone. This angle here begins to decrease right away. An early arm bar begins. Actually, the angle increases. An early arm bar begins. You can see at this point in time where his elbows are bent, that's really how he wants to try to keep them through a large portion of the swing. But what he's doing is creating early armbar. So as we advance forward, a lot of people have said he has bat drag and early armbar, and he does. You can see here his arm, front arm, is basically straight. It should still be bent. And as we advance forward, you're going to see his back elbow slowly start coming underneath his front elbow. You can see that through here. A lot of people picked that up. And also what he's doing is he's casting the bat. And if you don't know what people mean by that, is his bat is coming away from his head or is away from his shoulder prematurely. And it's creating bat drag, which is no good. If it were bat lag, that would be a different story. Let me back you up a little here. Overall, he's quite athletic, which is great, and he's really trying to hit the ball hard, which is great too. At impact, right about there or here. Let's see, I can't get the frame exactly. His hand should be in a palm up, palm down position. So his top hand should be palm up, and his bottom hand should be palm down. And he's more like in a praying hand position. And then what he does at impact is he rolls over and really tries to get extension with his back arm and pushes through. That's why everything looks so violent. And it's a combination of the early arm bar, the casting, and this motion that's making people think that bat is too heavy for him. The bat is absolutely not too heavy for him. If he weren't early arm barring, and if he were maintaining some space between his elbows throughout his swing, um, these things wouldn't be happening, and he would not be early arm barring. Everybody says he's moving his head a lot too. Really, at foot plant, which is right here, his head should stay, I'll call it, centered in his body. And he doesn't do a bad job with it. If you watch, it still goes forward some, and it's moving around, but it's not that it's terrible. A large part of this is happening because if you watch his back leg and his back foot, they actually go backwards. When what we're trying to achieve is that back foot skipping forward. So if we go all the way back to, whoops, let's get rid of that, to where we started. Okay, I call him a spinner. All he's doing is spinning out on his back foot. So all that momentum he's trying to gain by rotating his hips. Obviously, somebody's been telling him to rotate his hips tremendously. He's actually going backwards, which sounds crazy, but he is. So his front foot should really end up here somewhere with that line that I just drew. And what I'm going to show you, I'm going to move forward. I think it's his third swing, which is actually his best swing. It's the second. This swing here, if you watch, that back foot's going to skip forward. See it come forward a little bit? That's something he wants to work on. Why that is happening is this. The hip rotation, if you watch his hip here, it's actually advancing forward and not just spinning. See that? It's that motion, right? Because your knee is attached to your hip, your foot is attached to your knee. If your hip pulls forward, your knee is going to pull forward. If your knee pulls forward, your foot is going to pull forward. Okay? And what I like to say too is when a player gets into this finished position, his body is angled like this. That's oftentimes where the where the slightly upward swing comes in from. It's because of those positions. So let's clear out of some of this. Back you up again. So really what you got to work on is when he strides, and I teach a stride, he needs to land in a 50-50 weight distribution when the front foot hits. And what he's doing is he's just spinning. His whole lower body is spinning. So instead of landing and then rotating, he's rotating before he's really even landed. And some of that's okay, but not as violent as he's doing right now. So get him to stride to a more 50-50. So he should land something into this position. At that point, his front leg will start to post up and his back leg should skip forward. So this is better, but not ideal, that's for sure. In terms of him loading, instead of pushing his hands back and creating that early arm bar and advancing that bat drag, talk to him about possibly just rotating his shoulders. So when he loads, if he starts, hang on, he starts here, okay, what he would really do is just rotate his shoulders in this direction, keeping his hands exactly where they are, keeping his elbows in the same bent position that they currently are. So all he would really be doing is rotating his shoulders, showing his number to the pitcher. He's not going to take his hands and work them back towards the catcher. Then when he unwinds, they're going to come in this direction in the same angles as they went back when he loaded. I hope that makes sense. And that's going to allow him to help eliminate some of that bat drag and some of the early arm bar and also the casting. And then with that, you shouldn't have to talk to him about getting extension, because if his arms come through correctly, his hands will just follow and he'll get into that power V naturally without trying to force it. Right there, he's trying to force it to happen. So I hope some of this makes sense. It's pretty tough doing this quickly on Facebook, and I'm trying to use a screen recorder that I've never even used before, and haven't really seen your son hit before either. So post any questions you might have, and good luck. Keep up the hard work.